Hello friends, welcome to our channel Creating Essence. I am Megan. Thank you so much for stopping by today. My little assistant and I are going to be sharing with you how we make garlic kraut. Right, Gia? Garlic kraut is one of our favorite fermented foods. A lot of people like to make sauerkraut to have as just a small side every day to give your gut those good probiotics that you can only get from fermented foods that are so important to our health. But we're not really fans of sauerkraut itself. So more than a decade ago, we tried buying from a farmer's market some fermented garlic kraut, which is basically sauerkraut, but fermented with a ton of raw garlic as well. And that was absolutely a winner for us. So there are lots of different ways to do these things. Here's how I do mine. You need 3 basic ingredients: cabbage, garlic, and natural sea salt. You can definitely chop everything by hand, but today I'm gonna take some help from my food processor. I'm gonna start by coring my cabbage, and then I'm gonna cut this into wedges that are going to fit into my food processor. Now we're going to take 3 heads of garlic, or 2 heads and half a head of elephant garlic, and chop them up as well. Putting out a 2-liter glass jar. This is just a little less than half a gallon. Canning jar funnel. And this is called a tamper. This end is for narrow mouth. This end is for wide mouth, or narrow mouth is also known as regular mouth. Fit right in the mouth of regular jars. What I've found works best is to just put in about 2 cups of cabbage. And then I put in a pinch, which is about 2 tablespoons of garlic, and about 2 teaspoons of that salt. And then I just tamp it. What I want to do is just crush it down and just mix everything together a bit and get it pushed down to get as much air out of there as possible, while also crushing the garlic into the cabbage, crushing the cabbage some more to get the juices flowing with that salt in there, and just repeating those layers. And I can already see that there are a lot of juices coming out of the cabbage there. It almost looks like it's already been filled with water, but it's just cabbage juices. Put all the rest of this cabbage in here, and I want a full jug here, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and shred some more cabbage, because that head turned out to make not quite as much as I wanted. Shredded another half a cabbage, and now we're going to finish this off. A little more cabbage in for this layer. Another good pinch, about 2 tablespoons worth of garlic, and about 2 teaspoons of salt. And repeat. Now I am using a narrow mouthed jar because I have handy little supplies called a pickle pipe and a pickle pebble that work with narrow mouth jars. So that's why I use these instead of something bigger or one of my half-gallon jars, because I only have wide mouth half-gallon jars. And I am filled up to the top, and it is packed in there. So I have a little left, but that's fine. I can put that in the fridge to do some cooking with. Now I'm going to top this off with filtered water. I'm just gonna tap it, get some more of those air bubbles to rise out. But you can see It's pretty well packed in liquid in here. There are a few tiny air bubbles in there, but it looks pretty good. Clean off the top. What we want to avoid is any pieces of cabbage not being submerged under the water. And that is where the pickle pebble comes in. This is just a glass weight that you drop in. And it's gonna displace some of that water. And I'm just going to spoon out these pieces of cabbage that aren't submerged because I want it all submerged. As long as everything is under the water, it can ferment safely. Anything that's on the top runs the risk of possibly molding. And now I put the pickle pipe on top, and this is going to let the gases escape without letting air or bacteria in. It's got a tiny opening there that when the pressure comes up from the inside, it will let the gas out. Now I'm just going to fold up a little hand towel and put it here on the back of the counter. If I had a pantry where this could be in a cool, dark place, that would be ideal, but no pantry here. So I'm just gonna leave this on the back of the counter, especially in the first couple of days when the air bubbles are coming up. It can also displace some liquid out the top. So that is why I put it on a towel. But I will be back tomorrow to show you what it looks like. So it's day 2 and not much has changed in the jar, but you can see there's some tension here that's kind of domed up. A little bit of liquid has squeezed out, some foam is squeezed out. That is all good, healthy, and normal. All right, it is day 3 for our krauts. You can tell the color's changing a bit. The liquid in there, you can tell, is a little bit foggy, and the cabbage is starting to ferment. It's losing its crisp green and whiteness. And that is all good things. The towel down here is a little bit damp, so I'm gonna change this out for a fresh one so we don't get any funky smells here in the kitchen. There's a little bit of liquid at the top here. You can tell there was probably some seepage at the top, and that's probably what overflowed and ran down to the towel, which is why I have the towel here. But I'm gonna change that towel out and check back in a day or 2. Happy day 5. So things are getting kind of off-white to yellowish brown all throughout, which is what good fermented kraut looks like. You can tell there's no foaming or bubbling, and actually it's kind of retracted a bit, and that is all super duper normal. I usually let my kraut go for about a week before I take the lid off, check things out, make sure no film or mold has grown on the top, and then we start working on it and put it in the fridge. It's been 10 days since we first got this fermenting, so it should be ready. There we go. Everything is looking good, and out of an abundance of caution, I do remove these solids that have gotten above the pickle pebble with all the bubbling and fermenting, just because they weren't being pressed under the water the whole time like everything else. It does smell so good, and that's one thing that you can tell, is that it doesn't smell rancid or rotten at all. It smells garlicky and fermented. This hasn't gone bad in the slightest. I'm going to put a regular lid on this, and I will just keep this in the fridge. We will spoon some out whenever we need it. We especially love to put this with things like breakfast potatoes. When we have sausage or hot dogs, we like to top hot dogs with this. And it is a great, really delicious tasting, but also really nutritive probiotic supplement to have anytime. This will keep in the refrigerator for months. This jar will just stay in the back of the fridge, and we'll pull it out anytime we need it. The refrigeration kind of stops the fermentation process for the most part. It will get a little bit more fermented, but it's not going to be off-puttingly so. We eat this raw because cooking it would kill the beneficial bacteria, but you can cook it if you're not really in it for the probiotics or you just want to cook it with bratwurst or something like that. It is still absolutely delicious, even if those healthy little buggies don't make it through the cooking process. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it if you think anyone might find it useful, and subscribe to hang out for more. We'll see you again soon.